Welcome, everyone, to the Up on the Soapbox podcast. This is episode 26. It's miraculous. I'm always amazed how many episodes we have under our belts. We got a great guest with us, and we'll get to her in a second here. But I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Brett Schaefer. I'm one of your hosts. And today I have my other host with me, Dan Piggott. Dan, what's going on? What's on your mind?
Hey, just had a nice weekend. Here we are getting back. We had the best football playoff weekend maybe ever to watch in the NFL. It was awesome, great games, and so I'm ready to go. We have a busy week planned, which is nice, and I'm ready. I'm ready to hit it. What do you got?
When you said football, I was thinking La Liga or something overseas. I really didn't. I wasn't even paying attention to NFL. Why? What happened?
Oh,
I'm just
La Liga.
It was incredible.
Who soccer, football? Get out.
Well, here in Charlotte, we're getting our first professional soccer team, and they start, I think, in April. So it's pretty exciting times here if you're into that kind of thing, which many people are. It's the most popular sport in the world, but I digress. So let's move on to our guest. She's here for a reason, and I don't want to bore her with all of our stupid banter. So with us today, we have Cola Henderson. Cola is get this, one of the coolest titles I've ever seen. I did a lot of research on your website, Cola, so strap in for this one. Cola is the Soul Train Conductor at Soul and Swag out of Omaha, Nebraska. Cola, thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I do have to comment, though, I disagree with Dan because I'm a Packers fan.
Oh.
And so while it was good football, it was disappointing, unfortunately, for a Packers fan. But it was fun football to watch. Not that game as much, but the Bills Chiefs game was a lot of fun.
Well, we can talk about disappointment. I'm a Giants fan, so that's a little more challenging.
So at least we were there. That's what people kept saying. At least you're there. You're not, some other fans. So anyway, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. So a couple things I learned about you as I was doing some research here. See, we are professional podcasters. I guess I'm just going back on what we were just talking about. We actually do research here. So Soul and Swag, I love this. Soul and Swag has been built with a combination of faith, freedom, failure, and fun. Going to want you to break that one down. Our mantra is quite simple. Wake up, kick ass, also awesome. And then probably my favorite thing I learned about you today is your real name is Nicole.
It's true.
All right. So let's go back to, you can bring us, the floor is yours. These are some things I picked out. I thought they were really cool, and I'm sure you'll work it into your conversation. Tell us about you. Tell us about your company. Let's hear more. Let's learn about you.
Yeah, well, I'll get the Nicole part out of the way first. That is my real name. No one knows that that's my real name.
Oh.
My husband's friends, especially as I started meeting more of them, and it would be a couple years later and they'd be like, wait, who's Nicole? Like, that's me. And so it's always been kind of a funny conversation. When I was a baby, I had a cousin. She would call me Nicola, and my grandpa started calling me Cola, and it stuck. So that's kind of the story behind that. No, my parents did not like Coca-Cola or something weird. But it's always a conversation starter with my name, so it's kind of fun.
Well, you're the only Cola I know, so it's we'll leave it at that.
Yes, I've met like Coley or other things like that, but never a Cola. So I'm still waiting to see if somebody else wants to be Cola with me. So yeah, that's the story behind my name. As far as Soul and Swag, we were started in 2017. My mom and I own the company together. We came from the industry before that. So I grew up in and around it. I grew up faxing orders and filing catalogs and all of that fun stuff. And always, wanted to maybe join the family business. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. I was one of those lost people of like, what do I do now? I'm done. I don't get a party and just go to school anymore. So came back, started working for them. And after 4 years of working for my parents' other business, realized it wasn't in the stars for us to all be working together. So my mom and I kind of left and went out on our own, and Soul and Swag was born in the summer of 2017. And now we have a studio space here in Omaha. And we just love having people in. We wanted to create a space that people want to come back to and really come and step away from their office to get creative. So.
Well, you have built an awesome space. I was there the one time a few years ago. It's really, truly one of the most unique showrooms, if you want to even call it that. Office spaces is probably a better word that I've ever seen, in the industry. So how often do you use it, or how do you use that space, which has got all these lush couches and a full bar set up and some other things that are quite unique. How do you use it?
Yeah, so before we had this space, I was like a lot of people out there and probably listening to this still do this to this day, and there's nothing wrong with it, but packing up suitcases full of product, dragging them in to see a client. And when we started Soul and Swag, I was like, I've only been doing this for 5 years and I'm over it. I can't imagine, the people that's the only way they ever do it. And I was just over it. And so my mom and I had this idea to eventually have a space. She always wanted some sort of a bar. She wanted it to be kind of a product bar. It's more just turned into a regular bar. But yeah, we use it to entertain clients. We've had, for a while, we were, just letting people use the space for free to get our name out there. So nonprofits that needed a space, or they needed, somebody needed to do a board meeting, our space was up for grabs. So that kind of, I think, helped develop our name in the community. And plus, we love to give back. It's part of what we do. Is just how can we do something good for others. And that was kind of a starting piece for us. But otherwise, the space itself, it's a constant reset, rethinking, but we want people to come in and think about, where do they want their brand to live? So instead of, hey, here's a bunch of tumblers, here's a bunch of journals, here's a bunch of coolers, pick one. It's really set up more how like your home is, or a gifting area would be, so that they can get that visualization. We're such visual people that it just made sense for us to do it. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time. I don't recommend it for everyone, because you got to have that mindset. But that's my mom. She loves like home decor, and she loves that piece of it. So it makes it a little bit easier for us, but it's an investment, and we're finding it to be worth it, but it does still take a lot. Right now we're doing the reset. So I think my brain is a little negative on it for a second, but it's totally worth it in the end for our clients.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if it was a collective effort, or one of you sort of took the lead on it, but you've already explained it sounds like your mom's kind of leading that charge, and then you guys are all involved.
Yeah, she's got sometimes some crazy design ideas, or it might be something we want to do for an event for our clients or whatever. And she always has these great ideas, or even our team, like they'll come up with great ideas. And sometimes I feel like the negative Nelly, because I always shoot it down, not in a way of like, I don't like it, but I'm just like, okay, that's really cool. How are we going to do it? Who's going to execute? How much does it cost? Where do you order this stuff? Blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's figure it out. Yeah. I love it. But I'm the one who kind of sometimes shoots them down a little bit.
Dose of reality, brings a dose of reality into the conversation. Okay. Exactly. So, and I know from speaking with you, and even just before we came on air, am I allowed to say that? Are we on air?
You just did.
Sounds so professional. That you're involved in some networking groups. Sometimes they're referred to as mastermind groups. I think yours is the Ripple Collective, if I'm correct on that. Talk to me about how you utilize that group. What are the benefits of getting involved? Why you chose to get involved? Talk a little bit about that experience for us, please.
Yeah, definitely. So from the networking side, we do some local things here with different chambers and organizations. And originally that was just to start meeting people, get our name out there. We've kind of backed off from how much we do that. We were doing stuff every single day, coffees, happy hours. It was just trying to meet more people. I know you guys know, but I had a baby last August. So the number of coffees and happy hours have dwindled a little bit, but still just trying to always meet people and learn. And a lot of times it's not something that we can do for them, or everybody knows somebody, right? That could be a potential client. So from that standpoint, we still do that. And my mom is on the board for a local chamber here. So again, just staying active in our community. As far as the Ripple Collective is one of my favorite things that I do for our business. It was started by a friend, Brenda Spears. She's owner of a distributor out in Bend, Oregon. And we all met through a common SKU event. And so it was kind of this, hey, we see each other once a year and then we miss you. Like we don't get to see each other ever. So it became this kind of just like It's not something where you're always coming and complaining about anything. You're trying to solve problems. And so we have 10 in our group. She's developed different groups. I think there's 10 other, maybe even more than that. She just hired somebody to actually make this like a real thing so that, but it's just a great platform for people to be on, whether you're in an ownership role or a sales role, account management, design. She puts you in different groups. She vets everybody to make sure like you're going to commit to this. But it's one of the best things that we have for our business, especially as we went through COVID and all the PPP loan information. It was just such a resource to have each other to turn to say, hey, what's everybody doing?
Yeah.
How are you handling this? And then same with, all the chaos of the last almost 2 years now, how are you handling this? Where are you sourcing this type of product? It's just been a huge, huge resource for me personally, and then for the business too.
I want to circle back to something that I mentioned as I was introing you, because it just really stuck out. That one line you had on your website, it said Soul and Swag has been built with a combination of faith, freedom, failure, and fun. Failure. How human
Failure.
is that? That is you usually don't see companies admitting to failure. So
Absolutely.
way to put that out there. That's more of a comment, but if you want to add to it, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's just an honest thing. It's just being true and real. And when I worked for my parents previously, once I kind of got sold, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about, because once you get in this industry, kind of stuck. Like once you really fall in love with it, you're like, I don't know how to do anything else. Like I want to be in this industry. And so when that happened to me, it would have been probably around 2014. I had the vision that I was going to take over a family business. My parents started it when I was a baby, and that was my vision, was that I'm going to take this over. I'm going to keep growing it. It's going to be awesome. And all these things, I had this plan. And then come around to 2017, and I ultimately it wasn't in the stars for my dad and I to work together. And so I felt like a complete and total failure that we weren't making it work, and it was like, well, you've tried everything and it's just not supposed to happen. And so Soul and Swag was started because of a huge failure, of what we felt was a failure. Looking back, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to us. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you otherwise.
Brave word to put out there, though. Really, you don't see it much, so
Thank you.
it's really great statement. So I'm sorry I just interrupted you, but so that's how it was born, out of failure.
Was.
And
Absolutely.
I'm sure almost on a weekly basis, your other failures may give birth to other great things.
They haven't stopped. I said the other day, I'm like, when am I gonna have a project where I don't learn something new?
That's great.
So, but it's great. It's a good problem to have.
All right, so we have a couple questions here, and we'll wrap this up right after that. But I'll start here. So I've been to Nebraska once. I actually covered the territory for about a minute, and I visited Omaha, and I'm glad I did, because I wanted to check off the state. And but I didn't have a chance to learn much about it. So what's the best part of living in Nebraska? What don't people know?
Well, don't come right now, because it's like 6 degrees outside this morning. Omaha is and I'm sure a lot of cities are like this, but when you're in it, it's so fun to see the revitalization of certain areas. So areas that my grandma, she's from small town about an hour north of Omaha, used to ride the train down to an area called Blackstone, and she would go to the Blackstone Hotel, and she has all these stories. Well, for so long, it was just nothing was there. The hotel was old, and the whole area has just been revitalized, and it just has life and fun. And there's different pockets like that around Omaha that are just continuing to develop. And it's so cool to see that and see the growth. There's massive buildings that like Facebook and Google. We're the middle of the country. So really, besides the weather right now, like a great location to be at, and really trying to draw the people here that are trying to draw more talent here or keep talent here, is really, really cool to see and be a part of. And we've just learned so much business to go around. We know other distributors here in the Omaha area, and it's a respectful thing between us. And there's a lot of business here, and a lot of people that care about their brand, their culture, their people. And it's fun to be a part of that.
Interesting. The last one I have for you is probably could be its own podcast. It's kind of a broad subject, and I don't mean to sort of blindside you with a big broad question, but you're, as Brett alluded to earlier, you're from a different generation than I am, maybe two, as he said. So maybe two beneath me. But the idea of trade shows, and I just wanted to kind of get your take on it, because what does the younger generation think of when they think of these big booth trade shows? What does the future of trade shows look like? What should it look like in your eyes moving forward in the promotional products industry?
And remember, you're speaking for your entire generation, Cola.
Well,
So answer carefully.
yeah.
Yes. Speaking for everyone that's my age. Got it. I think that's such an interesting question. And ultimately, the money that the suppliers put into it, I can't even fully wrap my head around. Some of them, how much money they spend to do those shows. And I respect it. I acknowledge it. I personally love it. I love going to Vegas. I know there's lots of people that it is not for them. We've taken out my cousin Jackie, she's 3 months younger than me, and she works for us. And we took her to Vegas for the first time in like 2019, I think, was the first time she went. And she was sold. I mean, she walked in and it was just kind of this overwhelming, but like super exciting and awesome thing. And so I don't know what the future looks like. If they're still there, I'm still going to Vegas. I'm walking the show because although it's so cool to see new product and obviously very important to what we do and get samples ordered, it's just so fun to see people. And so I don't know how else you create that, how else we get to see not just our reps, but our actual supplier partners. That's the only time of year we see them. Is we see the reps maybe a couple times throughout the year, but that's really the only time. So I don't know what the future of it looks like. At least for me and Jackie, we'll be in Vegas and walking the show if they continue to have it.
All right. So that's it for today, Cola. So thanks for being with us. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you being a great brand ambassador for the Soapbox as well. We love having you on board. So thanks for coming today, and we'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.